My wife sold me for $1. And the worst part? She was laughing when she did it. That laugh cost her everything, but I didn't know it yet. The dollar bill still had the faint warmth of Claire Montgomery's fingers when Lauren waved her hand at the table and told everyone to calm down. It was just a joke, she said. Nobody actually sells a husband. Major Lauren Whitaker Hayes had just lost a charity poker bet at the Fort Carson Officers Club, and Captain Ryan Pierce was grinning beside her like he'd won the lottery. Half the room was howling because Lauren had scrawled on a cocktail napkin that she was selling me to her best friend for $1. I looked at the napkin. Then at my wife. Then at the woman who had just handed over that dollar, not because she wanted to buy me, but because she wanted the room to stop treating me like furniture. Lauren rolled her eyes and said, "Daniel, relax. It's a joke. Nobody can actually sell a husband." So I folded the napkin, tucked it into my jacket pocket, and held up that dollar. "If this is a joke," I said, "then I'll let the punchline finish our marriage." The laughter died before I reached the door. By morning, Lauren discovered the first thing I stopped being was useful. The Officers Club at Fort Carson knew exactly how to make humiliation sound like tradition. Polished wood, military photographs, heavy glass, old flags, and that particular kind of laughter that gets louder when rank is in the room. That Friday night was a charity poker event for military family support. Officers, spouses, contractors, medical volunteers, donors, all of them wearing polite smiles that could cover half the truth in Colorado Springs. My wife loved rooms like that. Major Lauren Whitaker Hayes could command attention without ever raising her voice. She was 34, sharp, pretty, disciplined, and ambitious in a way people respected before they started fearing it. She served as a logistics planning officer at Fort Carson, and she was on the short list for a brigade-level innovation role that could shape the next 5 years of her career. She was also my wife of 5 years. That night, she wore her dress blues with perfect posture, perfect hair, and the easy confidence of someone who genuinely believed every room would forgive her before she finished explaining. I stood near the edge with a glass of club soda, watching her laugh with Captain Ryan Pierce. Ryan was her project deputy 35, handsome, loud in a controlled way, and great at making people mistake his charm for leadership. He had that smooth, careless energy of a man who had never had to repair anything he broke. When he saw me watching, he raised his beer and called out loud enough for the table to hear, "There's the spreadsheet husband. Daniel, come closer, we might need someone to calculate how badly Lauren is losing." The table laughed. Lauren smiled without looking at me. "Be nice, Ryan." That was how she defended me most of the time, a soft sentence, no consequence. Enough to make herself feel fair, not enough to stop anyone. Dr. Claire Montgomery sat across from Lauren. Claire was an emergency trauma doctor and a consultant for a veterans medical recovery program near Colorado Springs, and she'd been Lauren's friend since college. I knew her only in that polite, occasional way husbands know their wife's old friends: dinner once a year, fundraisers, hospital galas, Christmas cards. Claire didn't laugh at Ryan's joke. She looked at me and gave a small, apologetic smile. I nodded. I'd learned years ago not to make rooms awkward by objecting to small disrespects. That was one of the ways marriage trains a man when he thinks peace is worth silence. The poker game started friendly, small donations. Silly penalties, sing the Academy fight song, wear a ridiculous hat. Then Ryan started escalating because he liked attention, and Lauren liked proving she could handle it. "Double or nothing," he said, pushing chips to the center. "Lauren loses this hand, she has to give up something valuable." Lauren leaned back. "What do you want, Pierce?" "My parking spot." "No, too easy." Someone shouted her challenge coin. Another said her speechwriter. Ryan glanced toward me and his smile widened. "I've got it. If Lauren loses, she has to give Daniel to Claire for the night. Claire works too hard, she could use a logistics guy." Some laughed. Claire's face tightened. "That's not funny." Lauren laughed. "Oh, come on. It's poker night." I looked at her. She didn't look back. Ryan slapped the table. "Make it official, a $1 sale." Claire set her cards down. "No." Ryan played to the room. "Dr. Montgomery refuses a bargain." "Daniel, don't feel bad, I'm sure someone would pay shipping." More laughter this time. Lauren laughed too, not a big laugh, but enough. I stood still. Lauren lost the hand. The table cheered. Ryan pushed a cocktail napkin toward her. "Pay up, Major." Lauren picked up a pen. Claire said, "Lauren, don't." Lauren looked at her friend. It's a joke, Claire. It's ugly. Ryan leaned in. Only if Daniel has no sense of humor. Lauren wrote on the napkin in large letters, smiling as she did it, asterisk I sell my husband, Daniel Hayes, to Claire Montgomery for $1. Asterisk she signed it with a flourish asterisk Major Lauren Whitaker Hayes asterisk, then slid it across the table. The room laughed and clapped. My face felt strangely calm. Maybe that's what people mean when something inside them breaks cleanly. Lauren looked up at me. Daniel, stop looking like that. Like what? Like I committed a felony. Ryan snorted. $1 is generous. Most of us would have asked for change. A few officers laughed too hard. Claire's chair scraped back. Enough. She opened her purse, took out a dollar bill, and placed it on the table, her face pale with anger. I'm paying this only to end it. Not because this is funny. Lauren rolled her eyes. Claire. Claire picked up the napkin and held it out toward me. I'm sorry, Daniel. I took the napkin, then the dollar. The table quieted. Lauren watched me with that half-smile people use when they expect someone else to rescue the mood. I folded the napkin carefully. Then I looked at Claire. You didn't buy me. I know you ended the auction. Her eyes softened. Yes. I turned to Lauren. She crossed her arms. Daniel, relax. It's a joke. Nobody can actually sell a husband. No, I said, but a wife can show a room what she thinks he's worth. Her smile faded. Don't do this here. You already did. Ryan leaned back. Man, it was a joke. I looked at him. You said I was worth less than change. He shrugged. If you can't take banter, maybe military charity night isn't your scene. I held up the dollar. This room just helped me understand something. Lauren's eyes narrowed. What? If this is a joke, then I'll let the punchline finish our marriage. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Lauren laughed once, but it sounded wrong. Daniel. I placed the dollar in my wallet. I'll treat this dollar with more respect than you treated me. Then I walked out. No shouting, no overturned table, no final insult, just a quiet exit that said everything. I had given Lauren 5 years of quiet support. I built her event budgets, repaired her donor relationships, drafted her speeches, created the software behind her family support pilot, paid for half the room's charity success, and smiled while men like Ryan called it nothing. That night, I stopped smiling. Outside, the Colorado air was cold and dry, the mountains black against a clear sky. Claire followed me out before I reached the parking lot. Daniel. I turned. She held her coat closed against the wind. I'm sorry. You already said that. I mean it again. I know. I shouldn't have paid. You paid to stop it. It still feels wrong. It was wrong before you touched the dollar. She looked back toward the club. Lauren should have stopped him. Yes. She should have stopped herself. Yes. Claire took a breath. What are you going to do? I looked at the dollar in my wallet, then at the building where my wife was probably explaining me away as too sensitive. Make sure the joke ends where it belongs. And where is that? With my marriage. Claire's eyes filled with quiet sadness, not pity, recognition. That mattered more than I wanted it to. I drove to Denver that night instead of going home. At 1:13 a.m., I opened a new account through my private banking app. The initial deposit was $1. Account name, Freedom Dollar. The first thing I stopped being was useful. Lauren called me at 6:42 the next morning. I was in the company apartment near Denver Tech Center, sitting at a small kitchen counter with black coffee, my laptop, and the kind of silence that doesn't ask anything from a man. I watched her name blow on the phone, then I answered. Daniel, where are you? Denver. A pause. What do you mean, Denver? I mean I'm in Denver. You drove to Denver last night? Yes. Without telling you. You sold me before I left the room. I assumed my location was no longer your responsibility. She exhaled sharply. Don't start. I already stopped. Stopped what? Being available for jokes. She went quiet for 1 second, then the irritation came back, cleaner and sharper. You embarrassed me last night. I looked at the city through the window. That sentence arrived exactly when I expected it. Not I hurt you, not I'm sorry, not Ryan was out of line, just asterisk you embarrassed me. Asterisk. I set my coffee down. Lauren, you wrote a bill of sale for your husband on a napkin in front of your friends. It was a joke. You signed it. That's what made it funny. Did it? She sighed. Daniel, nobody in that room thinks I literally sold you. No, they just think you were comfortable pretending to. Why are you being so dramatic? Because my wife put a price on me and laughed when another man said it was too high. I told Ryan to be nice. You gave him a pillow and called it a wall. What does that even mean? It means you never stop him. You soften him. She didn't answer. I heard movement in the background, kitchen cabinets, a drawer. Then she said, "Did you prep my remarks for the veterans' family lunch?" No. Another pause. What? No, Daniel. The lunch is today. I know. You always review my remarks. I used to. Are you serious? Yes. Fine. I'll do it myself. Good. She gave a short, angry laugh. You're really going to punish me with chores? No. I'm going to stop performing unpaid functions in a marriage you priced at $1. That's insane. No. Insane was expecting me to drive home and make breakfast. Silence. Then she said, "Where's the SUV key?" In the bowl by the garage door. It's almost empty. Then it needs gas. You didn't fill it. No. You know I have to be at Carson by 8. I know. Daniel, you're acting like a child. I'm acting like a man who was told what he was worth. Her voice lowered. Come home tonight. We'll talk. No. No. I'm staying in Denver. For how long? Until separation terms are set. The silence this time was larger. Separation? Yes. You cannot be serious. I'm over a joke. No. Over 5 years of being reduced to support equipment. Last night just came with a receipt. She breathed hard. You're going to blow up our marriage because your pride got bruised? No. I'm ending it because my dignity became entertainment. Before she could answer, another call came in from my business partner, Paul Harris. I told Lauren, I have work. Daniel, don't hang up. I'm not hanging up on my wife. I'm ending a call with the person who sold me. I disconnected. Paul's call came through immediately. He didn't say hello. She really did it. She really did it. How much? $1. Insulting. You're at least worth 12 in parts. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Paul Harris had been my friend since college and the CEO of Guardian Bridge Logistics, the company I founded and still controlled. He ran operations because he loved people slightly more than I did, which wasn't saying much. I owned 58%, Paul owned 18%, the rest belonged to investors and employees. To Fort Carson's social circle, I was Lauren's quiet husband. To several state emergency agencies, military family organizations, and medical networks, I was the architect of systems that moved people, supplies, and help before bureaucracies could finish arguing. Paul knew what I'd been doing for Lauren for years. He hated most of it. Tell me what to stop, he said. Everything informal. That's my favorite category. No more free technical support for Lauren's family readiness pilot. No more last-minute dashboards for Ryan's demonstrations. No more donor lists sent through personal channels. No speech metrics, no transportation simulation exports, no emergency event staffing unless under signed contract. Paul was quiet for a moment, then he said, "Good. I'm not cutting off families. I know. Keep core emergency functions live through existing public agreements. Anything tied to actual family stays supported, and anything tied to Lauren's image." Pause. Paul said, "She sold the man who was doing 10 unpaid jobs for her. Let's stop all 10 and see which one she misses first. Do it clean. Always." Paul. Fine. Mostly always. By 8:30, Lauren's day began falling apart. I know because she called 6 times. I didn't answer until noon. When I finally did, her voice was tight. "The family bridge dashboard is in maintenance mode." "Yes. I have a project update today. The project can run under existing basic access. Custom presentation mode was never part of the signed agreement. You built it for me. I built many things for you. You can't just turn it off." I didn't turn off family support. I turned off unpaid presentation features. That makes me look unprepared. No, it reveals you were unprepared. She went silent. Then colder. Ryan was right. You're using money and systems to control me. I leaned back. Ryan thought I was worth $1 last night. He's welcome to build you a replacement. You're being cruel. No. Cruel was public. This is administrative. Daniel, please. There was no apology in that please. Just need. I have a meeting, she said. About what? My life after being sold. I ended the call again. That afternoon, I met Rebecca Shaw. Rebecca was a divorce and business litigation attorney in Denver with a reputation for cutting through emotional fog and finding the legal artery. She read the photo of the napkin, looked at the dollar deposit receipt, and listened without changing expression. When I finished, she said, "Do you want revenge or clean separation?" Clean separation. Good. Revenge is expensive and usually poorly drafted. I want my assets protected. I want my company kept out of personal drama. I want real family programs supported but not through Lauren's personal brand. I want out. Rebecca nodded. Then we don't prove she hurt your feelings. We prove she ended the respect required for this marriage to function. That night I slept in Denver for the first time in years. Nobody asked me to fix a speech before breakfast. I didn't cut off the families. I cut off her image. Lauren came to Guardian Bridge headquarters the next afternoon. She shouldn't have. That was one of Lauren's habits. When personal access failed, she tried official posture. When official posture failed, she tried marriage. When marriage failed, she called it cruelty. The receptionist called upstairs. Major Hayes is here. Paul looked across the conference table at me. Does she have an appointment? No. Is she armed? She's Army. Philosophically, yes. Rebecca, who had already begun drafting our separation notices, looked up from her laptop. No private meeting. I know, I said. Paul grinned. I love this new Daniel. Very terms and conditions. Lauren entered the conference room 10 minutes later after agreeing to a recorded business meeting. She wore her uniform. That was a choice. She'd used the choice many times because rooms treated her differently when rank sat on her shoulders. I had once been proud of it. Then I learned pride can become a fog machine. Her eyes went to Rebecca first. Who is this? My attorney, I said. Lauren's jaw tightened. So we're doing this. We are. She looked at Paul. Can we have the room? Paul leaned back. No. Paul. Major Hayes. She inhaled through her nose. Then she turned to me. The Fort Carson Family Readiness Dashboard is frozen. The Veterans Lunch donor packet was incomplete. The charity dinner vendor says payment confirmation was redirected. Do you have any idea how this looks? Yes. Then fix it. No. Her face changed. I'm not asking as your wife. That makes it easier to say no. I'm asking as the officer responsible for programs that support military families. And I'm answering as the owner of a company that will no longer route seven-figure support through your personal reputation. She looked at me as if I'd spoken another language. What are you talking about? Paul slid a document across the table. New allocation plan. Lauren ignored him. I said, the medical transportation support package. Emergency family travel fund and caregiver scheduling software will continue, but they will no longer be branded through your charity dinner or your personal Fort Carson initiative. We're moving support directly to the Veterans Medical Center and local family organizations. Her eyes narrowed. Claire's Hospital. Yes. She laughed once. There it is. No. You're punishing me by funding Claire. I'm funding patients. You're making me look like I lost my biggest sponsor. You did. Her hands curled. That money was for military families. It still is. Then why take it from my event? Because the event became more about your image than the families. That's not fair. I leaned forward. Lauren, last year Guardian Bridge paid for the venue deposit, guest transportation software, donor analytics, family emergency case tracking, and the medical ride matching pilot. Your remarks thanked Ryan's logistics innovation team, Fort Carson community leadership, and supportive partners. My company was named once in 6-point font on the back of the program. She flushed. That wasn't intentional. It happened 3 years in a row. We were trying not to make it look like my husband was buying my success. So you made it look like someone else earned what I built. Rebecca said calmly. Guardian Bridge's new structure solves the concern. Support continues, but public credit, operational control, and reporting lines will be accurate. Lauren looked at her sharply. This is a marriage. Rebecca nodded. Legally, it's becoming a separation. Operationally, it was being used as an informal procurement channel. Lauren hated that because it was true in a language she couldn't dismiss as hurt feelings. She turned back to me. You're humiliating me. No. I'm no longer hiding the parts of your life that depended on my silence. You think Claire is better than me. This has nothing to do with Claire. It has everything to do with her. She paid the $1. Now she gets the money. Paul laughed. Lauren turned on him. He raised both hands. Sorry. The sentence was absurd in a legally fascinating way. I said, Claire's medical center has existing infrastructure in need. They'll run the transportation and caregiver scheduling grant better than a ballroom charity dinner. Lauren's eyes flashed. So now I do nothing real. I didn't say that. You implied it. No. I said I'll stop paying for you to appear to do what other people are actually doing. She stood. You will regret this. I looked at the dollar receipt framed temporarily on the conference room screen. I already regret what came before it. She left with more control than I expected. That didn't last. By evening, Claire called. I received a grant notice from Guardian Bridge. Yes. Daniel, this is $1 million. $1 plus $999,999. That's not funny. It's not meant to be. She was quiet. I can't accept this if it's part of punishing Lauren. It's not. You run actual medical transport. You need routing, staffing, vehicle coordination, and emergency scheduling. Guardian Bridge can provide that. She'll think she already thinks many things. Daniel, I'm not asking you to take sides in my marriage. She made me part of it when she wrote that napkin. Yes. Claire exhaled. I don't want to own what Lauren threw away. You don't. I paid $1 in a room full of people treating you like a thing. That matters to me. It matters to me, too. Then let's do this carefully. We will. No blurred lines, no gossip, no revenge partnership. Agreed. And Daniel, yes, I didn't buy you. I know. I wanted the room to stop treating you like something that could be priced. That sentence stayed with me long after the call ended. Respect doesn't always arrive with romance. Sometimes it arrives as a witness. Claire refused to own what Lauren threw away. The Freedom Dollar Fund was Claire's idea, not the name. That was mine, and I expected her to hate it. She didn't. We met at her medical center 3 days after the Officers Club incident. The building sat south of Colorado Springs, a low brick complex attached to a veterans rehabilitation wing and outpatient trauma clinic. It smelled like antiseptic, coffee, and the exhausted courage of people trying to heal without making a speech about it. Claire walked me through the transport dispatch room, 3 coordinators, 2 outdated monitors. A whiteboard full of names, appointment times, caregiver notes, vehicle limitations, wheelchair needs, and last-minute cancellations. This is what your system would replace, she asked. Not replace, upgrade. She nodded. We miss rides every week. Sometimes a veteran misses a specialist appointment because a spouse can't drive. Sometimes a caregiver has to choose between work and transportation. Sometimes a family has 3 appointments in 3 different cities and no one sees the whole picture. I know. I built this for Fort Carson. I built part of it for emergency family response. Lauren used the concept in her presentations. Claire looked at the whiteboard. Did she understand it? Yes. Did she value it? That's a different question. Enough to use it. Claire looked at me. That's not the same. No. We sat in her office after the tour. She took the dollar bill from her bag, the same one she had handed me at the club. I had deposited a digital record, but she had asked to hold the physical bill for a day before I framed it or archived it. She placed it on the desk between us. I keep thinking about that moment, she said. So do I. I was angry at Ryan, angry at Lauren, angry at myself for touching the joke at all. You stopped it. I participated in the last motion of it. You didn't create it. No. But I want that dollar to mean something that's not ownership. What do you suggest? She tapped the bill. Start a fund, not just for medical rides, but for spouses and families who get trapped in silence because they're told the mission matters more than their dignity. Economic abuse, social humiliation, career pressure, military family support gaps. Make the first donation that $1. I leaned back. That will make Lauren furious. Claire's eyes sharpened. That can't be the reason to do it. It's not. Good. It will still make her furious. I know. For the first time since the club, I laughed softly. Claire smiled, then sobered. We need boundaries. Yes. I will not be the woman people say you left your wife for. I didn't leave my wife for you. I know. But people prefer simple lies. So we give them boring truth: no private dinners, no hidden meetings, no emotional dependence disguised as project planning. I looked at her. You've thought this through. I'm a doctor in a military town, Daniel. I've seen lonely people do reckless things with noble language. I'm not looking for a rescue. Good. I'm not offering one. That was the beginning of trust, not flowers, not longing looks, but terms, respect, a shared refusal to make damage romantic. 2 days later, Guardian Bridge announced the Freedom Dollar Fund. The press release was simple. Guardian Bridge Logistics and partner medical providers announced the Freedom Dollar Fund supporting military spouses, veteran caregivers, and families facing emergency transportation gaps, economic vulnerability, and dignity-related crisis needs. No spouse should have to laugh while being priced. We didn't name Lauren. We didn't mention the officers' club. We didn't use the napkin. The military family community did the rest. Stories began appearing in spouse groups, not gossip at first, but recognition. A wife who had been mocked for needing childcare support while her husband deployed. A husband who left his job to support his officer spouse and was called dependent at every social event. A caregiver whose unpaid labor was treated as personality instead of work. A retired sergeant's spouse who wrote, "I laughed at too many jokes because pushing back would have made me the problem." The fund received hundreds of small donations in 3 days. One note read, for everyone who was told it was just a joke. Lauren called Claire before she called me. Claire told me later she didn't play the call, she summarized it because boundaries mattered. Lauren accused her of betraying their friendship. Claire said, "You made me part of the humiliation. I'm choosing not to make that dollar dirty." Lauren said Claire had wanted me all along. Claire answered, "If I wanted to steal something, Lauren, I wouldn't start by telling everyone he was never for sale." Their friendship ended on that call. Mine and Lauren's marriage had already ended, it was only waiting for paperwork to catch up. Meanwhile, Ryan began making noise. He told several people the fund was a publicity move. He said I was exploiting a joke to make myself look wounded. He said Guardian Bridge had always benefited from Lauren's military connections. That last part was dangerous for him because it made Colonel Marcus Reed curious. Marcus Reed was Fort Carson's compliance and project oversight officer. He wasn't one of my friends. He wasn't one of Lauren's enemies. He was a career officer who disliked mess, informal favors, and public embarrassment dressed as morale. He called me the following week. "Mr. Hayes, I'm reviewing several military family support initiatives connected to Guardian Bridge and Major Hayes." I expected someone would. "Did you pull support from families?" "No." "Did you pull support from Major Hayes's personal event structure?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because support had become dependent on a private marriage and informal access." "That's bad governance." A pause. Then he said, "That's the first sensible sentence I've heard all week." I almost smiled. Marcus continued, "Fort Carson will require formal review of any continuing collaboration, open process, clear deliverables, no spouse-to-spouse arrangements. Guardian Bridge welcomes that." "I bet Major Hayes doesn't." "No. Captain Pierce says his team can continue without your platform." "Then I wish him luck." "You sound unconvinced." "I am deeply unconvinced." "Will you participate in the Logistics Innovation Expo next month under formal invitation and clear boundaries?" "Yes." "Good." That was how Ryan got his chance to prove I was only worth $1. I intended to let him. The dollar became a name she couldn't escape. Lauren had always understood optics. That was why the Freedom Dollar Fund shook her harder than any legal letter could have. A legal letter could be dismissed as private conflict. A lot to count could be called financial punishment. A paused dashboard could be explained as technical aggression. But a phrase spreading through military spouse networks was harder to command. No spouse should have to laugh while being priced. It appeared on donation notes, then on a podcast, then in a local article about military family support, then in a letter to the Fort Carson Family Readiness Office asking why so much family labor remained invisible until it broke. No article named Lauren. No official statement described the poker night. But people knew rooms always know before paperwork does. Lauren tried to ignore it at first, then she tried to minimize it. Then, on Ryan's advice, she made the mistake of addressing it indirectly during a luncheon speech. I saw the clip because Paul sent it with the subject line, *, never interrupt your opponent while she's digging. *. Lauren stood before a group of military spouses and donors, polished as always, and said, recently, some people have tried to turn private misunderstandings into public campaigns. I believe military families deserve real support, not symbolic drama built around hurt feelings. It wasn't a terrible sentence. It was worse, it was revealing. She still thought the problem was hurt feelings. The comments were immediate. One spouse wrote, if a joke humiliates someone in public, why is his response the drama? Another, real support includes respecting the people doing unpaid labor. Another, I gave $1 because I knew exactly what that sentence meant. Claire didn't comment publicly. That helped. Silence can be powerful when everyone knows you could speak. Lauren came to Denver 2 days later. This time, she came without uniform. Rebecca joined us in a mediation room. Lauren looked tired but still angry enough to stand straight. You're letting them think I abused you. I'm letting people think about dignity. That line is about me. That line is about anyone it fits. You know what you're doing. Yes. You're making my worst moment into your brand. I looked at her. You made my worst moment into entertainment. She flinched. I said I was sorry. No. You said I embarrassed you. I was angry. So was I. I started a fund. She pressed her lips together. That's not funny. No. It's useful. Her eyes moved to Rebecca. Does he enjoy this? Rebecca answered before I could. Major Hayes, Mr. Hayes has redirected support from informal personal channels into structured public benefit. Enjoyment is not legally relevant. Lauren turned back to me. I don't want our marriage to become a public cause. Then you shouldn't have ended it in a public room. I didn't end it. I reached into my folder and placed a copy of the napkin on the table. Her eyes dropped to her own handwriting. She looked away. That wasn't real. It was real enough for the room. Daniel, you know you couldn't legally sell me. That was never the issue. Then what was? You thought the fact that it wasn't legally real meant it couldn't be emotionally true. She swallowed. For 1 second, I thought she understood. Then she said, Claire is enjoying this. I sighed. There it was again, Claire as shield, Claire as excuse, Claire as simpler pain. Claire didn't write the napkin. She paid to stop you. She took my side. You left my side before she moved. Lauren's face hardened. Ryan says you always wanted people to know Guardian Bridge was behind my projects. Maybe this is your way of taking credit. He says many things. Is he wrong? Yes. Then why now? Because I am no longer willing to be useful and invisible at the same time. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said quietly, you used to say you didn't care about credit. I didn't care when I believed you saw me. Her face changed. That one reached her, but regret came late and left early because pride escorted it out. She stood. You are going to regret humiliating me. No, I said. I regret helping you confuse my silence with consent. After she left, Rebecca looked at me. You handled that well. I wanted to say worse. That's why I attend. Paul entered right after Lauren left, carrying a printed flyer. Good news. Fort Carson confirmed the Innovation Expo. Ryan presenting. Oh yes, he's presenting. The Pierce Whitaker Family Response Grid. Rebecca looked up. Pierce Whitaker? Paul nodded. Apparently, the system formerly known as Your Work has gone through witness protection. I took the flyer. Ryan's name was large, Lauren's slightly smaller. Guardian Bridge was not listed. That was fine. The best way to reveal an empty stage is to let the actor perform. Ryan said he could replace me. Ryan Pierce believed confidence could substitute for infrastructure. He wasn't the first man to make that mistake. At first, his plan looked smart. He told Fort. Carson leadership that Lauren's team had built an internal family response grid inspired by lessons from recent exercises. He claimed Guardian Bridge had provided early conceptual support, but the military team had matured the project independently. That language was careful, not theft, not credit, just fog. Lauren let it stand because she needed it to be true. If Ryan could prove they didn't need me, then maybe my departure was just personal. Maybe the Freedom Dollar Fund was just drama. Maybe her career hadn't been quietly standing on a system she never fully respected. Ryan requested a private technical prep meeting with Guardian Bridge. Paul responded with a formal pricing sheet. Ryan wrote back, "I thought Daniel wouldn't nickel and dime a military family initiative." Paul forwarded it to me. He thinks nickel and dime is a smart phrase in a story about $1. Adorable. I told Paul to decline informal support. Guardian Bridge would participate in the expo as an observer and potential bidder. If Fort Carson opened a formal procurement pathway, we would not provide back-end architecture for Ryan's demonstration. We would not troubleshoot his interface. We would not loan our simulation engine. We would not allow use of our logo. Lauren called me after that email. "You're setting us up to fail." "No. I'm letting you stand on your own work. That's not fair. You know how complicated these systems are." "Yes." "You know Ryan's team doesn't have your engineers." "Yes." "And you still refuse to help?" "Yes." She made a frustrated sound. "This project helps families. Then it should be built by people who understand the work. You're making this about ego." "No. I'm making it about capability." "Ryan says your system is just a polished database." "Then he should be fine." Silence. She didn't like that. I continued, "Lauren, if I'm just a logistics guy and a database husband, your team should have no trouble replacing me." "I never called you that. You laughed when others did." "That's not the same." "It feels the same from this side." Her voice softened. "Daniel, please. I need this expo to go well." I closed my eyes. Need again. Need had worn many costumes in our marriage. Need this speech, need this donor call, need your software, need you to ignore Ryan, need you to understand, need you to be bigger, need you to come home, need you to not make me face what I did. "I hope it goes well," I said. "But I will not build the floor under Ryan's feet so he can stand on it and call me useless." She hung up. Expo preparation became a spectacle. Ryan gave interviews to the base newsletter about soldier-led innovation. Lauren rehearsed speeches about resilience and military family readiness. Senior logistics officers were invited. Medical partners came. Contractors came. Family readiness representatives came. Claire was invited as a medical transport advisor because her center had become a major partner through the Freedom Dollar Fund. Ryan tried to have her removed from the panel. Colonel Marcus Reed refused. "She has more relevant medical transport experience than half the room," Marcus told him. Ryan said, "There are concerns about personal bias." Marcus replied, "Captain, the entire reason this review exists is that too many people confused personal access with program structure." Do not tempt me with irony. I heard that from Paul, who heard it from a contractor, who heard it from someone standing too close to an open office door. Military bases run on chain of command, coffee, and unofficial circulation. A week before the expo, Paul and I reviewed Ryan's public technical brief. Owen Blake joined us. Owen was a systems evaluation consultant we used for stress testing, quiet, precise, deadly to nonsense. He looked at Ryan's slides for 9 minutes, then said, "This is a brochure pretending to be software." Paul leaned back. "I'm going to put that on a mug." Owen pointed to the dispatch simulation diagram. "There's no conflict resolution engine." I nodded. They copied the interface idea, not the logic. The medical priority sort is decorative. Yes. The vehicle assignment table doesn't account for wheelchair capacity. Appointment urgency, caregiver presence, base access gates, or return trip timing. No. Owen looked almost offended. Then what does it do? Paul answered. Apparently, it shows leadership. Owen blinked. That is not a function. Please attend the expo and say that loudly, Paul said. I didn't plan to sabotage Ryan. I didn't need to. The truth about complex systems is simple. If you only steal the dashboard, reality will embarrass you during the first real scenario. The presentation died without my quiet work. Fort Carson Logistics Innovation Expo opened with flags, coffee, folding chairs, and confidence. Confidence was everywhere, on banners, in speeches, in Ryan's smile, in Lauren's posture, though hers had begun to crack at the edges. The event took place in a large auditorium used for briefings and community presentations. The front stage had 3 screens. A row of senior officers sat near the center. Contractors filled the back. Military spouses and medical partners sat along the side. Claire sat 2 rows ahead of me with the medical advisory panel. Paul sat beside me. Owen sat beside Paul with a notepad and the expression of a man attending an autopsy in advance. Colonel Marcus Reed opened the event. Today is about family readiness that works when slides end and real need begins. I liked him more every time he spoke. Lauren presented first. She was polished. She thanked Fort Carson leadership, family readiness volunteers, medical partners, and innovation teams. She did not mention Guardian Bridge. That was fine. Guardian Bridge was not participating in her presentation. Then Ryan took the stage. He smiled at the room like he had already won. The Pierce Whitaker Family Response Grid represents a soldier-led approach to military family logistics. We understand the mission because we live it. Applause. He clicked to the first slide. The interface looked good. I recognized the influence of my designs, not enough to sue from a glance, but enough to make me feel tired. Ryan continued, too often outside vendors complicate simple military problems. We built something leaner, more responsive, and more aligned with command reality. Paul leaned toward me. Outside vendors, that's you, I gathered. Owen whispered, lean means missing load-bearing structures. The first demonstration scenario was simple, a severe weather event closes 2 roads. 3 military families need transportation support. 1 veteran needs a medical appointment transfer. 1 caregiver calls out sick. Ryan clicked. The system assigned the same van to 2 families at the same time. The screen hesitated. Ryan smiled. Minor display lag. He clicked again. Now the van appeared at 3 locations. A murmur moved through the room. Lauren's face tightened. Ryan kept talking. As you can see, the system prioritizes speed. Claire raised her hand from the medical panel. Captain Pierce, why is the dialysis patient assigned to the longest route? Ryan looked at the screen. Route time is dynamic. Claire said, it sends him past the medical center, then back through a restricted gate. Ryan clicked. The map refreshed. Now 2 emergency contacts were blank. Owen wrote something down. Paul glanced at his notepad and whispered, please let it be murder. A senior logistics officer asked, Captain, how does your system resolve vehicle capacity conflicts? Ryan said, our team uses a flexible human-in-the-loop model. Owen raised his hand. Marcus saw him and nodded. Owen stood. Dr. Owen Blake, Systems Evaluator. Does that mean the software does not resolve capacity conflicts? Ryan's smile thinned. It supports human judgment. That was not my question. The room shifted. Ryan said, in early-stage demonstrations, some modules are simplified. Owen nodded. So it does not resolve capacity conflicts. Ryan looked toward Lauren. She stepped forward. This is a prototype. Claire said, then it shouldn't be presented as a response grid. Ryan snapped, Doctor, with respect, medical advisors don't always understand operational rollout. Claire's voice stayed calm. With respect, Captain, if this went live, your rollout would miss patients. That landed hard. Ryan turned toward the audience. We expected certain interfaces from previous project partners to be available, but there has been some obstruction. There it was. I stood, not quickly, not angrily. The room turned. Marcus looked at me. Mr. Hayes. I walked to the aisle microphone. Captain Pierce, are you referring to Guardian Bridge? Ryan's jaw tightened. I am referring to support that was withdrawn from a military family initiative. Guardian Bridge declined to provide unpaid back-end architecture for a demonstration marketed as independent from Guardian Bridge. Ryan said, you know families need this. Yes. That's why the work should be real. Lauren looked at me, eyes pleading and furious at once. I looked back at Ryan. Captain Pierce, if I was only worth $1, why did your entire system need my unpaid architecture to breathe? No one spoke. The sentence moved through the room like a door closing. Ryan opened his mouth. Nothing useful came out. Owen stood again. The demonstration lacks dispatch conflict resolution, medical priority sorting, accessible vehicle matching, caregiver dependency mapping, real-time gate routing, and return trip logic. Those are not interface issues. They are core functions. Paul whispered, "I love him." Marcus stepped onto the stage. "Thank you. This demonstration will pause." Ryan looked stunned. "Sir." Marcus took the microphone. "Fort Carson will suspend all related informal military family technology initiatives pending review. Future collaboration will proceed through open requirements, formal evaluation, and documented contracts. No more spouse channels, no more handshake architecture, no more personal favors substituting for program management." Lauren closed her eyes. Ryan's presentation was over. Not because I destroyed it, because I stopped holding it upright. The base stopped taking her calls first. Fair rules feel like punishment to people who benefited from exceptions. Lauren learned that within a week. Before the expo, she could call my team directly. She could text me at 10 p.m. for a donor report. She could ask Paul for just a quick export. She could get a Guardian Bridge engineer to patch a demo because everyone knew she was Daniel's wife and Daniel would approve. After the expo, that world ended. Fort Carson issued new guidance for military family technology and support partnerships. Every project needed written scope, procurement review, data handling approval, sustainability plan, and a point of accountability not dependent on marriage. It sounded boring. It changed everything. Lauren called a vendor for catering support tied to the old charity dinner. They asked for a purchase order. She called a family readiness coordinator about the donor transportation plan. The coordinator said the medical center and the Freedom Dollar Fund were now managing transportation directly. She called a Guardian Bridge account manager she used to know by first name. The account manager politely referred her to formal intake. She called me. I didn't answer during work hours. She emailed. Rebecca replied. Lauren hated that most. Ryan hated it more. He was removed from lead presentation duties pending review, but he still tried to control the narrative. He told people the expo failed because Guardian Bridge refused to cooperate. He told Lauren she needed to get ahead of the story. He said the Freedom Dollar Fund was making her look weak. He said Claire was positioning herself as the noble woman who saved the humiliated husband. Lauren believed enough of it to stay angry, not enough to stay certain. That was new. She requested a meeting with Colonel Marcus Reed. He agreed. I wasn't present, but Marcus later summarized the professional portion to Guardian Bridge because it concerned future collaboration. Lauren argued that my company had been allowed to reshape a Fort Carson initiative because of marital conflict. Marcus replied, Major Hayes, the initiative was vulnerable because marital access had been allowed to support it informally in the first place. Lauren said, Daniel always wanted to help. Marcus said, then the base should have respected the help enough to formalize it. Ryan, who attended part of the meeting, said, Sir, with respect, we can't let a civilian spouse dictate military priorities. Marcus answered, Captain Pierce, the civilian spouse built the system you failed to demonstrate. Ryan said nothing. Lauren later called me from her car. Her voice was rough. Marcus Reed thinks I used you. Did you? I thought we were married. So did I. That's not an answer. It is the answer. She was quiet. Then she said, I didn't know how much came through you. Yes, you did. No. I knew you helped. I didn't know the programs would stop working. That means you didn't understand the help. I was busy. So was I. Another silence, then softer. Were you this unhappy the whole time? That question hurt not because she asked, but because she had to. No, I said. Not the whole time. When did it start? When I began hearing people describe my work as your support system, your project, Ryan's field model, and our military family initiative, but never as mine. You told me credit didn't matter. I told you I didn't need applause. What's the difference? Respect. She exhaled shakily. I don't know how to fix this. I'm not asking you to. Because Claire is helping you now. No, Lauren. Stop using Claire to avoid looking at the room where you laughed. She didn't answer. I ended the call gently. That gentleness cost me more than anger would have. Meanwhile, the Freedom Dollar Fund grew, not explosively, but steadily. Enough to make Fort Carson leadership take it seriously. Enough that local clinics, caregiver groups, and transportation volunteers began coordinating through Claire's center. Enough that military spouses who had once smiled through jokes began attending listening sessions. I attended the first one quietly. I didn't speak until asked. A retired staff sergeant's husband stood and said, "I gave up my job for her career, and every party turned me into the guy who packed coolers." A young officer's wife said, "When people call it service, they mean I shouldn't invoice it." A caregiver said, "I don't need applause. I need not to be treated like furniture." Claire moderated with calm strength. No theatrics, no Lauren bashing, no gossip, just the work that made the work stronger. Lauren heard about the session and spiraled. Ryan offered a solution, a bad one. He told her the only way to neutralize the story was to suggest what people were already whispering: that Daniel and Claire had wanted each other all along. It was easier to call freedom an affair than to admit disrespect had consequences. Lauren was tired enough to listen. She tried to call freedom an affair. The rumor began like cowardice usually begins, not with a statement, but with a question. Has anyone noticed how fast Daniel and Claire started working together? Then another, asterisk, was the $1 thing just an excuse? Asterisk, then a third, Lauren may have made a bad joke, but maybe Daniel was already looking for a way out. No names attached at first. Then Ryan made the mistake of saying something similar at a small officer gathering where too many people had phones and too few had loyalty. Lauren didn't say it publicly. She did worse, she let it breathe. When asked whether she thought Claire and I had been close before the separation, she said, "I'm not ready to talk about that." That sentence didn't accuse, it invited. By then, I understood the old pattern. I would be expected to defend, explain, prove, chase the smoke. Instead, Claire and I did something quieter. We made boundaries visible. Every meeting involving the fund had minutes, multiple attendees, and official scheduling. Every public appearance was project-related. Every grant approval went through a committee. No private dinners, no secret travel, no late-night emotional messages. Claire even opened a community forum by saying, "Because of the painful way this fund began, we will be especially careful that our work stays transparent." Respect means boundaries too. Military spouses understood that immediately. The rumor weakened because it had no behavior to feed on. Lauren hated that. She called Claire again. Claire took the call in her office with her door open and her assistant present for scheduling reasons, not recording, just not hiding. Lauren said, "You got what you wanted." Claire answered, "A transportation grant and the end of our friendship." Strange goal. "You know what I mean. I know what you want to mean. You're standing next to my husband in every photo. Your husband is separating from you because you humiliated him in a room full of people. You paid for him." Claire's voice sharpened. "No. I paid $1 because everyone else was laughing and I wanted it to stop. You could have refused." "I did. You kept going." Lauren went quiet. Claire continued, "You're not angry because I took him. You're angry because I respected what you mocked." That line reached Lauren. "I know because she called me minutes later." Her voice was thick. "Did Claire tell you what she said?" "No. She said I mocked you." "You did. Do you enjoy agreeing with her?" "I enjoy when words match events." "You're different now." "No. I'm less available." "I think you wanted to leave by the end." "Yes. Before Claire." "This isn't about Claire. You keep saying that because you keep hiding behind her." She made a wounded sound. "I'm losing everything." "You're losing things I was holding. You make it sound like I did nothing." "No. You did a lot. You worked hard. You served. You built relationships. You led people. But you also used my work without protecting my place beside you." Her breath caught. That was the first time I had said both truths together. Lauren was not useless. She was not a paper villain. She was smart, driven, and capable. That was part of why the betrayal mattered. She could have known better. She did know better. She chose convenience. She asked, "Is there any way back?" "No." The word came easier than before. That scared me and freed me at the same time. Because of her, because of us, the rumor died slowly over the next 2 weeks. Not because people became kind, but because Ryan's situation became louder. His failed demo triggered a deeper review of project feasibility, not a criminal investigation at first, but a capability review. That was more fitting. Ryan had claimed he could replace my work. Now he had to explain why he couldn't. In the internal review, Ryan made his own choice. He blamed Lauren. He said Major Hayes had assured him Daniel would keep support available despite the separation. He said Lauren had allowed the project to rely too heavily on spousal support. He said he had only presented what Lauren authorized. He said the informal relationship with Guardian Bridge was her channel, not his. When Lauren received the summary, she drove to my Denver office without calling. Security didn't let her pass the lobby. She sat there for 40 minutes before sending one text, "He sold me too." I looked at the message for a long time. Then I replied, "Now you know what the room felt like." Her captain sold her the moment the room turned cold. Lauren didn't come to Denver to apologize, not at first. She came because Ryan's betrayal had finally made her feel the shape of mine. That wasn't the same as remorse, but it was the doorway. Rebecca allowed a formal meeting at her office 3 days after Ryan's statement. Lauren came alone. No uniform, no Ryan, no practiced speech. She looked exhausted. "I read what you texted," she said. I nodded. Now I know what the room felt like. Yes. She sat across from me. Rebecca activated the meeting record. Lauren didn't object, that alone showed how much had changed. Lauren folded her hands. "Ryan is saying I promised him you would keep supporting the project." "Did you? I thought you would." "That's not a promise." I acted like it was. "Yes." She looked down. "I did that a lot." "Yes." I told myself it was marriage. "No. Marriage asks. Entitlement assumes." She closed her eyes. "I know." Rebecca's pen moved, but she didn't speak. Lauren continued, "I kept thinking Ryan understood the military side in a way you didn't. He made me feel like the work could still be mine if I didn't have to explain how much came from you. That must have been convenient." She flinched. "It was honest. Late, but honest. He also made me feel foolish for needing you. Because you wanted not to need me." "Yes." That answer hurt more than denial. She looked up. "Daniel, I am sorry for the napkin. I am sorry for laughing. I am sorry for letting Ryan talk about you like that. I am sorry for every time I called you my logistics guy because I thought making it sound small made me look independent." I watched her carefully for years. I had wanted that apology. Now that it was here, it didn't unlock what she hoped. "I believe you are sorry," I said. Her eyes filled. "Then can we stop this before the divorce is final?" "No." She swallowed. "I'll cut Ryan off completely." "That is wise." "I will publicly apologize." "That may be right." "I will give up claims I could fight for." "Rebecca will discuss settlement terms." "Daniel, don't do that." "Do what?" "Talk like I'm already gone." "You are." She began to cry. Not loudly. I remembered when her tears could move me faster than my own thoughts. That power was gone not because I became cold, but because I became careful. She whispered, "I did not sell you. You performed it. That's not the same." "It was enough." "I was stupid." "Yes." "I was arrogant." "Yes." "I was trying to look strong at your expense." "Yes." She wiped her face. "Claire is better at this than I was." "At what?" "Seeing you." I didn't answer. Lauren gave a broken laugh. "I hate that." "I know. I hate that she paid the dollar and somehow became the one who treated you like a person. She didn't become that because she paid. She paid because she already understood it." Lauren looked away. That distinction hurt her. "It should have." "Are you with her?" "No." "Do you want to be?" Rebecca's pen paused. "I chose the truth. Not while I'm married." Lauren closed her eyes. "But after?" "I don't know." That wasn't entirely true. I knew enough to know there was something between Claire and me, respect first, trust second, possibility third. But possibility deserved clean ground. Lauren nodded slowly. "She didn't steal you." "No. I threw you away and got angry when someone else picked up your value." I said nothing. Some truths sound best in the voice of the person who avoided them. The meeting shifted to terms after that. The divorce would proceed under the prenup. My premarital trust kept the house. Guardian Bridge remained separate. Lauren would receive agreed personal property, a transition payment I didn't legally need to provide, and time to relocate. I didn't want revenge through cruelty. I wanted distance with structure. Lauren asked one personal question before leaving. What happens to the dollar? It becomes the first exhibit in the fund office. She winced. Do you have to display it? Yes. Why? Because I need to remember the moment I stopped accepting cheap love. She nodded. Then she left. Ryan's consequences came less dramatically but more publicly than he expected. Colonel Marcus Reed removed him from the innovation project pending reassignment. His performance review noted failure to demonstrate claimed capability, poor professional judgment, and over-reliance on informal vendor access. His next promotion packet stalled. He wasn't destroyed. Life is rarely that neat, but the career lane he had been bragging about narrowed sharply. More importantly, people stopped laughing at his jokes. That kind of social death is small but efficient. Lauren lost the innovation lead nomination. Officially, the reason was project restructuring under formal review. Unofficially, everyone knew she had sold the man keeping the machine running and then acted surprised when the machine stopped. She asked me to come home after pricing me. Divorce mediation took place in a quiet office with beige walls, bad coffee, and a view of mountains too beautiful for the conversations happening below them. Lauren arrived early. So did I. For 10 minutes, we sat in the same waiting room without speaking. There was a time when silence between us felt comfortable. Now it felt accurate. Inside the mediation room, Rebecca sat beside me. Lauren had counsel beside her. A retired judge served as mediator and kept his expression neutral in the disciplined way of a man who had heard every version of heartbreak and property division. The terms were mostly settled. The house belonged to my premarital trust. Lauren would move within 60 days. Guardian Bridge was mine. Retirement benefits remained largely separate under the agreement. Joint accounts would close. Vehicles would be divided according to title. The Freedom Dollar Fund would remain separate from the divorce. The mediator seemed relieved. Then Lauren asked for a private conversation. Rebecca looked at me. I said, recorded, counsel nearby. Lauren nodded. No argument. We moved to a smaller room. She sat across from me, twisting her wedding ring. I took it off twice, she said. I looked at the ring, then at her. And put it back on? Yes. Why? Because I wasn't ready to see my hand without it. I said nothing. She continued, I went to the house yesterday. It already feels like yours. It always was legally. I mean, emotionally. That surprised me. She looked up. I realized I never made it ours. I let you build comfort around me, then acted like comfort was something I had earned by being busy. That is close to true. She smiled sadly. Still precise. Still you. I missed that. I didn't answer. She took a breath. I am going to apologize publicly at the next family readiness meeting. That is good. I am going to say the joke was wrong. Good. I am going to say I allowed my husband's work to become invisible. My chest tightened. That is yours to say. I want you there. No. Pain moved across her face. I understand. No, Lauren. I don't think you do. She looked at me. If I am there, people will read it as reconciliation. They will watch my face to decide whether you are forgiven. Your apology cannot depend on my presence. She absorbed that slowly. You are right. I know. She laughed through tears. I used to hate when you said that. I used to say it less. No. You didn't. For a moment, we almost found an old rhythm. Then it vanished. She wiped her eyes. Come home, she whispered. No. Please. No. I can be different. I hope you are. For you. She lowered her head. Because of the dollar. I shook my head. You didn't lose me because of $1. You lost me because you thought a room full of people laughing at me mattered less than my dignity. Her shoulders shook. I continued, that dollar was just the first honest price you ever put on what you had been doing for years. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. She looked at me then, crying openly. I love you. I believe you. Then why doesn't it matter? It matters. It just doesn't repair. That was the hardest truth of my life. Love can be real and still arrive too damaged to be safe. Lauren reached across the table, then stopped before touching my hand. That restraint was new. Will you and Claire, she began. I don't know. She nodded. If you do, I will hate it. I know. But I think I will hate myself more. I looked at her for a long moment. I don't want you to hate yourself. I want you to stop needing someone else to disappear so you can feel strong. She cried harder at that, not because it was cruel, but because it was the kindest sentence I could still give her. The divorce finalized 6 weeks later. Lauren moved out of the house before the deadline. She left the keys on the kitchen counter with a note, *I am sorry I made you prove you were not cheap. *. I kept the note in a file, not on my desk, not in my bedroom. A file. Some things deserve record, not display. Claire and I didn't date for months. We worked. We built the fund. We attended meetings with other people in the room. We argued about grant language. We disagreed about whether transportation scheduling should prioritize appointment urgency or caregiver burden in certain cases. She won that argument because she was right. Respect grew in practical soil, no secret fireworks, no stolen moments. Just two adults careful not to build something clean on dirty timing. 1 year after the Officers Club, the Freedom Dollar Fund held its first annual Veterans Family Medical Dinner. Lauren was invited because the fund was not revenge. I didn't know if she would come. She did. The dollar that bought my freedom. The dinner was held at the medical center, not the Officers Club, and that mattered. No darkwood walls, no rank-heavy laughter, no poker table, no jokes disguised as bonding. Just long tables, families, doctors, volunteers, veterans, caregivers, drivers, coordinators, donors, and people who had learned that logistics is only invisible when it works. The Freedom Dollar Fund had grown beyond my original expectation. In 1 year, it helped fund emergency rides, temporary childcare, caregiver relief grants, legal consultations for spouses facing economic vulnerability, and software infrastructure for medical transport coordination. Guardian Bridge didn't use it as a marketing funnel. Rebecca made sure governance stayed clean. Claire made sure the work stayed human. Paul made sure nobody wasted money. Marcus Reed helped build a formal Fort Carson pathway so family support partnerships couldn't quietly become spouse-powered favor machines again. Owen Blake improved the evaluation model after calling our first impact dashboard emotionally satisfying but operationally undercooked. He was right. Annoyingly. Ryan Pierce was gone from Fort Carson by then, transferred to a staff role far from innovation work, with a reputation that followed him like cheap cologne. He hadn't gone to prison. He hadn't been ruined in a cinematic collapse. He had simply become smaller, which suited him. Lauren's career continued, but not on the track she once expected. She lost the innovation nomination and took a less visible planning role. From what I heard, she worked harder, spoke less, and stopped letting men like Ryan turn cruelty into entertainment. That wasn't redemption, it was consequence. Sometimes consequence is the only teacher pride respects. I saw Lauren near the back of the dinner hall before the program began. She wore a simple navy dress, not uniform. She looked at the banners, the families, the volunteers, and the glass display near the entrance. Inside the display was the $1 bill. Beside it, engraved on a small plaque, "Freedom began when the joke ended." Lauren stood before it for a long time. Claire saw her too. "Are you all right?" she asked me. "Yes." "Seeing her?" "Yes." "Are you sure?" I looked at Claire. She wasn't asking as a jealous woman, she was asking as someone who respected the weight of history. That was one of the reasons I loved her. We had begun dating 2 months after the divorce finalized, slowly, publicly, carefully. The first time I held her hand, she said, "Are we doing this because it's easy or because it's right?" I said, "Nothing about this is easy." She said, "Good. Then we can check the second part." We did. The dinner program began with a caregiver story, then a medical transport report, then a short presentation from Guardian Bridge. Paul spoke for the company because he enjoyed microphones more than I did and feared sincerity less than he pretended. Then Claire took the stage. She looked out at the room. 1 year ago, she said, a dollar moved from one hand to another in a room where it should never have been needed. The first dollar was never a purchase. It was a refusal to let a human being stay priced. The room was silent, not uncomfortable, just present. Claire continued, "This fund exists because dignity is not separate from support. Families don't only need rides, grants, software, and appointments. They need to know their work, their sacrifices, and their presence are not treated as background furniture in someone else's career." I looked toward the back. Lauren was crying quietly, no performance, no collapse, just tears. Claire finished, "We cannot undo every cruel joke, but we can decide what grows where it ends." Applause rose. I stood with everyone else. Lauren did too. After the program, she approached me near the display. Claire was speaking with donors nearby, but within sight. Lauren looked at the dollar. "I used to hate that you displayed it." "I know. I thought it was there to punish me. It was there to remind me of what I did, of when I stopped accepting it." She nodded. Her eyes were damp. Claire was right. She didn't buy you. No. I didn't lose you to her. No. I lost you before she ever touched the dollar. I said nothing. She looked at me. "I am sorry, Daniel. I know. I am not asking for anything." That was new. And because she asked for nothing, I could give her the truth without guarding every edge. "I hope you build a better life, Lauren." She pressed her lips together. "Do you mean that?" "Yes. Even after everything." "Yes." She looked at Claire, then back at me. "She sees you." I followed her gaze. Claire was laughing softly with a caregiver and an older veteran in a wheelchair. She listened with her whole attention, that was one of her gifts. She made people feel less like interruptions. "Yes," I said. Lauren gave a small, painful smile. "I should have." Then she left. No scene. No final plea, no desperate touch, just a woman walking away from the life she had priced too cheaply. Later that night, after the guests left, Claire and I stood in front of the glass display. Paul passed behind us carrying leftover programs. "Don't get too sentimental," he said. "The caterer overcharged us for coffee." Claire smiled. "I'll handle it." Paul stopped. "You scare me more than Daniel now." "Good." He left. Claire looked at the dollar. "Do you ever wish I hadn't paid it?" I thought about that room, Ryan laughing, Lauren writing, my own silence finally ending. "No," I said. "Why?" "Because someone had to stop the auction." She slipped her hand into mine. "You were never for sale." "I know that now." Outside, Colorado Springs glittered beneath the mountains. Somewhere beyond the city, Fort Carson kept moving, families packed lunches, soldiers came home late, caregivers checked calendars, vans drove patients to appointments. Systems ran quietly because people had finally agreed they mattered. I once thought love meant being useful enough that someone would never throw you away. I was wrong. Love without respect turns usefulness into a leash. The dollar didn't buy me. It cut the leash. She sold me for $1 as a joke. But that dollar became the price of my freedom.